Hello, Wisdom and Wellness. Welcome to another episode that we are already halfway in because we've just been going and going. But today I am so honored and privileged to be sitting with the Bianca Naidoo. She's a businesswoman, mother, and Auntie B to some. Where did you get Auntie B from?
I think it's Riky. Like, you know, when he would chat to his friends and, you know, he'd have to go back to give an answer. He's like, let me just chat to Auntie B first.
Because you don't give Auntie B vibes.
That's where it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to start with some icebreakers.
Okay.
What is the last purchase that you made that made you happy?
That made me happy. Our new puppy.
Oh.
Yeah, our puppy that's with us now for like 2 months.
Okay.
A little beagle, and his name is Ablo. So, yeah, that was probably my last best purchase.
Ablo.
Yeah.
Does Ablo have a meaning?
It doesn't. No.
Okay.
The kids were like, you know, everyone says Gucci, Prada,
Yeah.
all of those things. So the kids were like just playing around with names. And then Jordan, who's my daughter, said Ablo, as in Virgil Abloh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't connect that. Okay. Nice name. Okay. And how's the potty training?
Wasn't easy at first, but now we've got it right.
Okay. So you're happy with your purchase?
Yeah, very happy.
Cool. What's your morning routine? Like on a good day when you're just like, I am that girl. I am Auntie B.
So generally my sleep breaks at like 5:30, even on weekends.
Yeah.
I think because it's just routine. And then I kind of lay in bed and just pray and talk to God for a little bit.
Yeah.
Get up, make a cup of coffee. During the week, it's, you know, lunches, getting the kids ready for school, drop off, and then come back and start working. Weekends, I try to lay in. Sometimes I get back to sleep, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm a homebody, so I try to just like weekends just be with the kids and go out with them or chill at home.
You don't work out?
I hardly do.
You look like a Pilates Han.
I wish I was.
Like you give Pilates Han balanced green juice, girl.
I really, really wish I was. I just wish I was more diligent. Like I get so overwhelmed with just the running of the day because it's myself having to do everything now. It's difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I would love to get there.
Okay, so you just naturally have good genes. So we'll take good genes as well. Okay, do you have a secret talent that nobody knows about?
Secret talent? I don't think so. No, nothing that I can think of.
Whistling, green fingers.
No, I can't whistle. Definitely not green fingers.
Oh, no.
I'm going to think about it.
Okay,
I'll think about it, yeah.
We'll know at the end. Okay. And then this is a bonus one. What is the happiest memory of your childhood that you have?
I had the most amazing childhood. Like I talk about it very often, you know, with friends. We just spent a lot of time with family, and I think all of those moments were special. Like I come from a mixed background. So my dad's Indian, mom's black. And I just had the best of both worlds. And just, you know, our families were always getting together to do things. Yeah. And it's something that I wish my kids had now because it's so different. You know, we were always at cousins' houses, or cousins were by us. We're always doing something every weekend. And that has changed.
Yeah, it has.
So all of those memories, just good family times.
Yeah.
We lived in an Indian township, and we just were on the streets till late.
Till the Apollo came on.
Yeah. Just playing different games, just rollerblading, skateboarding. I have an older brother, so just everything. And all the kids.
I didn't rollerblade. I played like hopscotch and like and the game.
No, I was very tomboyish.
Yeah.
So, and I guess because I had a brother and a lot of his friends around, so best childhood.
How would you tell of your childhood? You speak about having a mixed family, having a black mom, and I think earlier you even mentioned your relationship with your mother. But in a summary, how was your childhood and how has it impacted the person and the mother that you are today?
Yeah. So growing up mixed, I did struggle a little bit. I did struggle because, for example, you get a form that you had to fill in. Are you black? Are you Indian? Are you colored?
Yeah, it's like,
And I would always get confused. Like, what do I tick? Because people say you mixed, so you colored.
Yeah.
And I didn't,
you're not-
I
you're not.
didn't, so I didn't necessarily think of myself in that way.
Yeah.
And then I'm black because mom's black, or you Indian because your dad's Indian and your surname is Naidoo,
Sure.
So I had some racial encounters growing up, and growing up in an Indian area as well. Like, but overall, I think just having very strong parents.
Yeah.
And I didn't school in the area either. My mom put my brother and I in private schools at an early age.
Yeah.
So that helped because then I was with different people, and you start becoming comfortable with that. But I think as I grew as well, it was even relationship-wise, you struggle. It's like, who do you date?
Yeah.
Who do you date?
Yeah.
And I think it's only when I got older that I started being comfortable with, like, I am who I am. Like, I don't have to say I'm black or Indian or whatever. And it's only when people ask, which I do get a lot. What are you?
What are you for?
So I'm like, I'm mixed.
Yeah.
And that's the best way of putting it. And I now have diverted from your question completely.
I love it. I love when people divert, because it's like you're letting me into your life. But before we even get to the rest of my question, because you did answer a part of it, is talking about the racial encounters that you had. Having a mom who comes from a black community and a dad who comes from an Indian community. I don't know how different that was, but how did you merge those two worlds to become who you are?
Well, I have to say my mom is like the most amazing woman. I know we all say that about our moms, but when I look back and just look at how she raised my brother and she did the most amazing job, and it couldn't have been easy for her at all. Being black and raising her kids in an Indian community, and she was probably the only black woman married to an Indian person.
Sure.
And that was years ago.
Yeah.
So it was very different.
Yeah.
I'm sure she put up with a lot,
Can imagine.
but she just did it with such grace, and she did a very good job in not making us feel like we're different. And yeah, I think who I am today is definitely because of her. Like, just her strength. My dad, for a long time didn't work.
Yeah.
My mom worked 2 jobs.
Sure.
Just to make sure that my brother
That's an
and
American thing, not a South African
yeah,
thing.
yeah. She worked 2 jobs. She had a day job. She'll come home. She would cook for us, and then she's out again in the evening to go work at a lab.
Sure.
Just so that we could go to a private school.
Yeah.
And have the things that, like, there was never a time you'd ask my mom for something and she'd say no,
Sure.
She'd make a plan.
Yeah.
And when I look back now, especially being a single parent now,
You're like, how?
I'm like, how?
How?
How did you do it?
Yeah.
But she was just no complaints, no ugliness, because sometimes as a parent you can take it out on your kids.
Yeah.
None of that. She did it with such grace.
Did you ever feel like, I'm not Indian enough, but I'm also not black enough?
Absolutely.
So what now? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely did, because I'd look at my hair and I'd look at my friends in the area, and I'm like, I wish I had straight hair.
Yeah.
My color, sometimes you'd be conscious of that. I'm not light enough, and with being black, because I never spoke the language.
So you never got to learn the language?
Never got to learn the language. It was always around me, and that's why I hear it. But being able to speak it, like, we just never spoke it.
And the accent.
And the accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's weird. I could hear it, but I could never speak it. And when I got to an age where I was like, actually, I want to be able to speak, I felt stupid speaking it. So I just, let it go.
Yeah. Sure. So what are some of, and I think you speak of your mom working 2 jobs, coming home and cooking.
Yeah.
And you say your dad wasn't working.
And we ate curry every day.
a whole curry
every day.
every single day with rice and potatoes
every day. My mom cooks. Even up to now, my mom cooks curry almost every day.
I can barely whip up a salad every day.
We grew up eating curry.
How does she do it? But just those dynamics and of your father not working, what values have you taken from your mom that you want to really keep as a mother, and that you are passing on that you've taken from your family, that you're passing on into your own children's life?
I think like a thing that stands out for me every single day, and even with the kids as I drop them off at school, is, treat people the way you want to be treated. And my mom did that. And I think like I was saying to you before we started, my parents got divorced when I was like 9, 10. And even though it was not an easy divorce, my mom was so good at making sure that my dad always stayed good to us, always painted the right picture.
Protected his image.
Not that he was bad in any way, but they obviously had their own struggles, and the divorce wasn't easy. But there was never a moment that she painted him in a bad light or, no negative feelings. And I think I've carried that so much in my life and in my relationships, and even with the kids, is, with Jordan's dad, for example, we've got a very good relationship. And I think that's from learning from my mom, It's not about
you, it's about the child.
It's about your child.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on your parents' divorce, right? I think we speak a lot here about, I've had conversation with guests who themselves have gone through divorce, but I've never really spoken about someone who comes from a family that's divorced and how that has impacted them, and how you've navigated relationships in your life, or how you saw yourself, or how you saw the family structure. So I think how did your parents divorcing impact you growing up, your insecurities, the way that you behaved? And
So for a long time, and I think right up till last year, I realized a lot of my life was survival, survival mode. And
up until last
year, because I started therapy for the first time last year. So, my parents getting divorced, I lived with my mom in the beginning. And, well, to be honest, I didn't live with her in the beginning. In the first 6 months, I lived with a friend. Until she got herself together. But she would pick me up in the mornings and take me to school and drop me back at home, where I was staying at that time. As a kid, you pick up certain things. You pick up... my parents are going through a divorce. My mom's struggling, or she's going to struggle. So let me make decisions for her, And at that time, I was at a private school. So I was like, let me say that I'm not happy here and move to a co-ed, move to a Model C school. And that's what happened, But I was making decisions for her. But I just was reading the situation and just felt I needed to do it. And then just my dad died when just after matric. I felt like a lot happened in my years of growing up that I just didn't deal with certain things because I was so good at taking it, figuring it out myself, and then moving on. But then you realize, Ricky's passing definitely made me realize that I have been in survival mode for the longest time, and just not necessarily paying attention to things that are important. Because I feel like I've got this and I can figure it out on my own. So I think I've navigated it really well, but last year brought me to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
I need to start living.
And I need to start also just being honest with yourself, you know? And being honest about your feelings. So
do you feel like and I was writing down something this morning I was reading, and I was reflecting, and I realized that I think a lot of people, a lot of us struggle to live within our fullest potential or within our purpose. That is the biggest question I get, right? Which I think a lot of our generation is asking, that what is my purpose? What is my meaning in life? And I was just writing that I think the reason why we're struggling with our purpose and our meaning is because we are in survival mode. Like we're dealing with pain and things that we have almost pushed aside, that there's no room to thrive. There's no room to find out who you are. There's no room to seek, to search, because you're just so busy with shoving pain. So do you feel like you've ever stopped to get to know yourself, or it's just like one step, next, kids, this, that, parents,
It's
this?
exactly that. It's just one step. I don't think, and it's something that I really struggle with. It's like, I really know that I have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I wish I could wake up one day and I'm like, oh, this is my purpose,
Yeah.
Because I do know that I have one.
Yeah.
But I haven't felt like my full potential.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something I pray about,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's what you're saying. It's like one day at a time. You're waking up, you're figuring this out, and and sometimes that's the other thing I've learned. Is sometimes you don't know how to.
Yeah.
You don't know where do you start.
Yeah.
And are you making an issue out of something that's not an issue?
That's also another conversation, because I think sometimes we want to magnify what this purpose could look like. So
Yeah.
it could be, you probably are in it, but it doesn't look like what you think it should look like.
Yeah.
And also, and I'm gonna tie into this, because when we first got married, Brendan and I, right, I wasn't quite sure what my call is, what I'm meant to do. But he can sing and I could sing. So I thought, automatically I'm supposed to be a musician,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't happen. And I'm watching this person who his whole life has known that he wants to be a musician, and he's living it.
Yeah.
And now you've lived with someone who was sure of his gift. I assume he was
Yeah.
sure of his gift and what he's come to do. How did that impact you? Did you feel like, okay, you know what, let's ride this because we know this is working? Or did it make you question a lot, that I wonder what's my thing that I'm living for?
I think later on, I mean, those thoughts definitely do come up. It's like, your partner's living their
dream,
purpose,
yeah,
or their
yeah.
dream, and you just kind of following
Supporting,
and
yeah,
supporting,
yeah.
So, but when I met Riky, I was working at that time.
Yeah.
I was working at an advertising agency, and fell pregnant with Mike not long after, and was just trying to, I had just started the job, actually. So, when I started, I was like, oh, how am I going to tell them? But they took it so well.
Yeah.
They took it really, really well. So I went back to work, I think, like 2 months later.
Yeah.
And that's when Riky started really getting into work. Yes, it's always been there, but
Yeah.
I think things started picking up, and then when Mike was just before he turned 2, Riky then asked me to please join, which also was, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, or, and we spoke to our parents, and made a decision, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I like best experience
Yeah.
ever. It taught me so much about work ethic.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were building something together.
Okay.
Yeah. It felt like we were building something together. He always looked to me for advice, guidance. In the beginning, it was pretty hard,
Yeah.
because you have to separate home life or
Ma'am,
just
you don't have
life.
to, you don't have to tell me.
and work.
Yeah.
He used to say to me at times, if you're gonna catch feelings, like, you're gonna have to learn how to separate it. And I did have to learn how to separate it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I never ever felt like I'm not living my dream,
there
or
we
I'm
go.
not living my life.
Yeah.
I just felt like we were doing it together, and I loved that. I
Yeah.
loved that because it also gave me the opportunity to be at home
Yeah.
with the kids,
Yeah.
manage my own time.
Yeah.
They, like, now I do really battle with just figuring out like, what is my purpose? What is my next steps? Do I want to continue doing what I want to do? I think our partnership gave me a lot of like meaning in life, a lot of meaning in life.
Yeah.
And I can try to continue doing as much as I can, you know, just with what we built together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever looked at him, to answer your question. I don't think I've ever looked at him and, you know, felt like, well, you're living your dream and I'm not, you know. I've just felt like we're building together.
Yeah, and you're playing your role.
Yeah.
And I must ask, what, for those of us who don't know the extent of the role that you played in his rise and his growth and in his career. I mean, like you said, he started picking up right just when you were about to join. So what role did you play in building his brand?
I have to say he taught me. I took a lot of guidance from him because it was a new space for me altogether. And I just felt like he was smart.
Yeah.
He was really, really smart.
Yeah.
You know, so I learned a lot from him in how to work in the industry, to understand certain things. And he had obviously put himself through certain like classes so that he could understand as well.
Really?
So, yeah.
So it wasn't just musical talent, but there was
but like just like admin stuff.
Yeah,
just like admin
sure.
stuff around, you know, for a good 3 months, he put himself through classes just to understand how things need to work. And
wow.
yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think I'll give that to him.
Yeah.
I have to say that he taught me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, when I think a lot about parenting, right? And a lot like marriage, a lot of us, you don't go in thinking, you don't get married thinking you'll divorce. You don't have a child thinking you'll be a single parent.
Yeah.
Until it happens.
Yeah.
So what happens now when the rug is pulled underneath your feet? One, as a partner in a business. Two, as a parent, and the person you made decisions with is no longer here. So how do you navigate that space of coming from, we make all decisions together, from what we eat, where we're going, the business, the kids, to just everything
on your own. Yeah. It's been tough. It really has been. Like, it feels like it's new and you're starting again. And I think I take one day at a time trying to figure it out. I think fortunately for me, in a lot of like day-to-day things, with the kids especially, you know, I did it anyway. So those kind of things, it's still easy to kind of just, you know, carry
get in the
on.
routine,
Yeah. But decisions, and just because I'm working on a lot of legacy stuff, you know, I really, really I overthink things. You know, would he have done it this way? Would he be happy with these kind of, you know, decisions? So I doubt a lot.
Yeah.
And then just get to a place where I'm just gonna wait for a sign.
Pause. Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for a sign.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing Ricky's mom always says to me. When I don't feel something, I push back. You know, and I always say it's like when the time is right, it would happen.
Yeah, you will know.
And I really do believe that. Like I give it time, and I give like just allow a sign to come in to say, okay, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But it is hard and it is very new.
Yeah.
Something as simple of like, what am I going to cook for dinner in the beginning? It was, you know, was hard because it would be, what do you want to have for dinner? Which means that it's for him and the kids. And now it's like, you can't necessarily ask the kids, what do you want for dinner? Because they're going to say chicken nuggets and chips
McDonald's.
or pizza or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just not something they can eat every single day. But simple things like that. And even buying, I was saying to someone the other day, it's when you're buying, there's not a day that goes by, or I think like a moment that goes by that I don't think of him in things that I'm doing. You know, something as simple as buying bread. It's so instilled in you. So every moment. So every single day is having to go through that. And and you just have to get
just do
through
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
just
would you
have to-
define grief? Or how would you define your grief process?
I sometimes think, like, I don't even know if have started grieving. I even, like, what is it? Because I can have my good moments, and then I have moments where I'm just like, I totally shut down.
Yeah.
And I kind of block everything out, everyone out as well, because then I just need that time to kind of, go through it on my own and be okay, figure it out and be okay. But yeah, grief is, I think, just losing someone. I lost my dad when I was 18, 19. So different to losing a partner. Totally. How?
Yeah, how?
I think because this person becomes your best friend.
Yeah.
You do everything with them,
Yeah. You plan a whole 50 years.
Exactly.
That involves them.
There's kids involved.
Yeah.
And when there's kids involved, there's a lot of guilt that goes into that other person not being around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with my dad, I can say I was very close to him, very unexpected.
Yeah.
But I had good times with him, So, yeah, I just like, I don't know, it's just a very different feeling. Like it's a different connection altogether.
Yeah.
This is your person.
It's your person. Connie Ferguson, and I always reference this. I loved how she described grief, and she described grief like a wave, and she just said you just gotta ride the wave. Like there's moments where you think of the person and you just break down.
Yeah.
And she's learned to allow those moments where if she needs to break down, she breaks down. But then now, I think as you ride the grief wave, then there's moments where you think of them and you just die of laughter.
Yeah.
And she's learned to also allow that, because I think there can be that guilt of, no, you can't laugh. You shouldn't be happy. So when it comes to joy, have you given yourself the permission to be happy, or do you feel like you have to be stuck in a cycle of sadness or just to keep his memory alive?
I struggled in the beginning to kind of like, also because I'm such a private person, and very much an introvert, I would say. I love people, but it takes me a while to kind of warm up.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that in the beginning. Like, should I be out? And when I'm saying out, in the mall, for example, can I look nice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like those are all the thoughts, because you feel like you're always being judged in some way as well. And I get this. I was actually speaking, there was such a sweet couple that approached me yesterday. I went to grab something at the mall and they just came to say hi and give me a hug. They were from Kenya. And I said, I appreciate this so much, because sometimes when you're out, you just get people that kind of like, they look at you like you shouldn't be here.
You should be
black. Like, there she is, kind of thing. And I just say, I just appreciate it more if someone just says, can I say hi? Can I give you a hug? Like, I love that.